Plenty of people are going to put blame on Matt Gay, including himself, for this latest Washington Commanders loss. But really, the offense's failure to execute in critical moments also needs to carry a heavy load of the blame. All that and more right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. I'm David Harrison, your guy on the ground, covering the Washington Commanders for WUSA 9. Also writing about the Commanders for Sports Illustrated's On SI group of sites and on X at DHarrison82. Coming up on today's episode, we are going to talk about the burning questions coming out of the Washington Commanders' 6th straight loss of the year, 8th loss total for the season. We're going to talk about a tale of two extremes, how the Washington Commanders actually won the critical middle quarter, but still found a way to lose the game. A little bit of a new one for this week. But first, we're going to start off with total red zone failure. All of that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Commanders. Still a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and still brought to you in part by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can bet just $5. If that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use anywhere on the FanDuel app. So post-game, Washington Commanders fall by a field goal to the Miami Dolphins. Almost said Seattle Seahawks, living in the past. Not by the score, but by the opponent. Washington Commanders lose by a field goal, sorry. 6th straight loss, 8th loss of the season, dropped to 3-8 through 11 games, entering the bye week. That is a really, really disgusting taste to carry in the mouths of the Washington Commanders into the bye week. They got to wait 2 weeks before they get to host the Denver Broncos, currently scheduled for prime time. We shall see. There are some who think it's going to get flexed out. There are others who look at the schedule and say there's no way that other networks don't protect certain games that might get flexed in. However, we'll see what happens and whether or not the Washington Commanders are playing primetime in a couple of weeks or not. But to me, the overarching takeaway for this game, and I say this not to take away blame from Matt Gay. Like, let's just get that out of the way right now. Like, Matt Gay, you're a kicker. You have the job to go out there, kick the field goals, kick the extra points, do all of those things. So when you come on the field, you know what I mean? Like, every team operates the same in some avenues, right? Like, you know, kickers tell coaches, like, hey, here's my range, here's what I'm comfortable with, and here's the yard line that I'm good with and all that kind of stuff. You got to go out there and you got to deliver. Like, bottom line, you got to go out there and you got to be able to deliver on the kicks. Like, we understand, like, you have a high probability type of job. Like, you can't really miss a whole lot. But let's be honest here. The Washington Commanders have given Matt Gay a whole lot of leeway and wiggle room to kind of figure it out during the course of the season. And clearly in the worst possible moments, it's just not getting rectified. And so the Washington Commanders, that's a conversation that we're going to kind of talk about down the road. But what I'm about to say does not take away blame or we're responsible or whatever for Matt Gay. Matt Gay himself, after the game, even told all of us in a group that he puts this loss on him 100%. He let his team down, all of those things. But we do have to address the other truth to the failure in this game. And that is the fact that if the Washington Commanders offense executes in the red zone, executes on their drives, then Matt Gay doesn't need to go out there to mess up those field goals in the first place. And you're talking about a Miami Dolphins defense that was very susceptible, not exactly the greatest in the NFL, certainly capable of giving up points, especially in the red zone. And yet a Washington Commanders offense that we've been praising, at least in this avenue, for being the #2 red zone offense this season. Something we talked about many games, many situations leading up to this weekend, especially, that when the Washington Commanders get into the red zone, they actually tend to do a really good job of putting the ball, or get into the red zone, and do a really good job putting the ball in the end zone, hence the #2 red zone percentage, right? The problem has been throughout the season, but they're just not getting into the red zone all that often, and they're not, putting together these drives. Well, on Sunday in Madrid, not only did they get into the red zone, but they did pretty much what you expect, I think, at this point in the season, to be quite honest with you, is when one thing works, right? Like, typically, they don't get into the red zone very often, but when they do really well. So this game, you're going to get into the red zone quite a bit, and then you're not going to do very well. 4 trips inside the Miami Dolphins 20. They came away with 2 field goals, 1 touchdown, and a turnover on downs. That is a 1-for-4 rate. So that is a 25% rate for those counting at home. Coming into the game, 79.2% touchdown rates in the red zone. Way, way, way off the pace for what they had been doing. And to me, again, like anytime you see the field goal kicker on, if it's not like an end of half, end of game scenario where we're just out of time, so we got to take the field goal, do all those things. Anytime you see a field goal on the field, it means a field goal kicker on the field. It means your offense in some way, shape, or form failed. And when your offense in that some way, shape, or form failed in the red zone, that is a significant contributor to what happened in this game. It's why they were in overtime in the first place. It's why they end up losing this game because the game should have been over. 4 drives. If you're at 80% conversion rate, give you 3 of them. That's 3 touchdowns. That's not even 80% technically. That's 75. Not technically, it's just not 80%. That's 75%. So you're still actually below your season average in red zone percentage, but you still turn 2 of those field goals into touchdowns. So you got 14 points instead of 6 points. That's 8 more points on the board. The Miami Dolphins are not going to keep up with that. You're going to win this game going away in regulation. First drive, first quarter, 13 plays, 71 yards. Moved the ball splendidly. Did a really great job getting down the field. Had to settle for a 26-yard field goal. Drive number 2 that we're going to look at, quarter number 2, 14 plays, 82 yards. Great ball movement. Settled for a 30-yard field goal. Drive number 3, quarter number 4, and those are the ones that Matt Gay made. And I understand the ones he missed were not red zone field goals. Like let's get that clear too. But connect the dots of why this offense, why this team was delinquent on the or deficient on the scoreboard is the point here. Drive number 3, quarter 4, 11 plays, 84 yards. They had a first and goal from the 5-yard line. Turned it over on downs at the 1-yard line. Look, we didn't have replay. Like we're in Spain. We don't get to watch NFL Network and all that stuff here. So we were reliant on the Bernabeu Stadium, big board operators and all that stuff. They did not show the replay of the 4th and 1 incomplete pass attempt. Marcus Mariota looking for Zach Ertz. Clearly, Zach Ertz slipped, right? Zach talked about that after the game as well. But it looked to me like he slipped before Marcus was even throwing the ball. And so to me, I kind of have to question, like, why did Marcus Mariota throw the ball? Like if I'm, 300 feet up in the air at the top of Bernabeu Stadium and I see Zach Ertz falling before you're getting ready to throw the ball, you should certainly see him falling to the ground before you deliver that ball and, make a different decision to do something else with it. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to convert and get a touchdown either, but you don't throw that. And look, like I said, those red zone failures ultimately put the game on the leg of Matt Gay, even from distance, even from outside the red zone. And those are situations that you just can't have as often. You can't go 25% inside the red zone and expect to win games, even against teams that are as inconsistent, equally inconsistent to the Washington Commanders as the Miami Dolphins. And essentially why I walked away from this game saying is the 2 teams, neither of them really played like they wanted to win this game. The Commanders just didn't want to win it a little bit more than the Miami Dolphins didn't want to win it. Very first overtime drive, Marcus Mariota throws an interception, gives the Miami Dolphins the ball at the Washington 40. It's all about squandering those offensive opportunities. You get the ball to start the overtime period, go down, try to score a touchdown, put the pressure on Tua Tagovailoa and his team, but instead you turn the ball over and you put the pressure on your own team. And it's not all just on Marcus either. Like, let's get that clear too. It's on the entire offensive unit. Cliff Kingsbury as a somewhat boring play caller at times, all of that kind of stuff. So just to say, like, there's plenty of blame to go around here. Certainly Matt Gay deserves blame, but let's not let the offense off the hook, just like we don't let Matt Gay off the hook and the defense even. Like at certain points in time, they had some goal line stands and all that kind of stuff. But listen, if you don't let those guys get in goal to go situations or field goal position in the first place, then that absolutely contributes. But it's kind of hard when a defense keeps a team under 20, even a not so great team. Keeping an NFL team under 20 is still a pretty solid day at the office. So it's kind of hard to really criticize the defense too much, though. They did have some opportunities, and certainly there's a defensive player that I think plenty of people are going to be criticizing after this game for a couple of things. One of them special teams related, not defense related. But coming up, we're going to talk about that critical middle quarter because typically it helps predict who's going to win the game. In this situation, it helps predict who should have won the game. But ultimately, as Sam Cosmi put it in his post-game press conference or scrum, Washington Commanders found yet another new way to lose and snatch defeat out of the hands of victory. That's all coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you in part by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it is time for you to say yes to saying no at Mint Mobile. Their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. So they want you to say yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint says that they make it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text. Delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. You're going to love that you're getting the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. Set up super easy. You keep your number, and then you're off and running in minutes. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Upfront payment of $45 is required. It's the equivalent of $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen or your first view of the day. To the everydayers, those of you who come through for every single episode, a special thank you goes out to you for making this one yet again a part of your watching behaviors. Segment 2 of our post-game episode, as we've been doing all season long, our middle quarter analysis. Middle quarter starts halfway through the second quarter, halfway through the first quarter. And really, when you look at the Washington Commanders won the middle quarter of this game, and it wasn't even all that particularly close. So 7:30 mark of the second quarter, Miami ends up punting, and the Washington Commanders end up turning that punt into a touchdown at the 11:24, or they end up getting a touchdown, at the 11:24 mark in the third quarter. So Washington wins this. They go 10-0. They go 10-0. They score 10 points, hold the Dolphins to no points, take complete control of the game, even if the scoreboard was still very close. During that stretch, went on a 14-play, 82-yard drive that used up the majority or the rest of the second quarter clock, tied the game 6-6 at the halftime gun, which was a solid, again, Matt Gay missed the field goal in the first half. So go in, say, probably should be up 9-6, but you'll take the 6-6 with a little bit of the control, come out in the beginning part of the second half, take more control. That's exactly what they did. 6-play, 59-yard drive, 20-yard touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel. A lot of good Chris Rodriguez Jr. running just overall in the game, but especially on that drive. And this is really when Washington should have been able to seize the game. But this also kind of shows you where we have come with this Washington Commanders team, because sitting in the press box, you just kind of had a feeling, guys, that it wasn't going to be that easy. Like, it wasn't going to be one of those games where it's like, all right, now they got control, now they're rolling, now they're going to do the thing. And unfortunately, we were correct. So they took a 6-3 deficit into the middle part of the second quarter, end up coming out of the middle quarter with a 13-6 lead. Yet they couldn't turn that momentum into more momentum. They couldn't stretch it out, and they kept Miami in it. And I told you, these teams are like gremlins, man. You get them wet or you feed them, and they're going to do some bad things. And by feeding them, I mean you help them stay in the game. You give them opportunities. That feeds the gremlin, and eventually they're going to grow up big, mean, and scary, and they're going to bite you right in the butt, which is exactly what the Miami Dolphins did. Part 2 of this segment, so we're going to do our good take, our bad take, our ugly take. Obviously, it's outside of our top take. Our top take is that, yes, Matt Gay deserves a whole lot of blame for the loss here tonight or today in Madrid, Spain. However, he is not the only one, so let's not also forget the offense that failed to put the ball in the end zone, that put the field goal kicker out there in the first place. So, good take. We'll start there. Goal line defense. The defense, 27th against the run coming into this game. 2 separate game-saving stands when their backs were against the wall. Actually brought me back to earlier in the season where this defense was a lot of bend, don't break type of stuff, right? Like, they would give up some yards, they would give up some drives. But when it mattered the most, when it came down to the goal line or in the red zone, they really kind of stood up, really kind of imposed their will, and they did a little bit of that against the Miami Dolphins again on Sunday. In the third quarter, 4th and 2 from their own 2-yard line, forced an incompletion to preserve a 13-6 lead at the time. Again, giving the offense back the ball and the opportunity to take more advantage of the game. Stand number 2, fourth quarter, Miami ends up with a 1st and goal from the 6-yard line following a muffed punt, which, of course, is going to be a conversation point here just in a second. Defense then forced a 4th and 1 from a 1-yard line and stuffed Ollie Gordon. 2-yard loss, keeping the 13-13 tie intact. In fact, it was such a bad stuff that Ollie Gordon, the second Miami Dolphins running back, actually went to the sideline and started just jawing at his own teammates, the offensive linemen. So that's our good take. Again, it's kind of like you gave up some explosives, you gave up a lot of big plays, get pinned to your goal line, but at least you stood up at the goal line, right? Bad take. Marcus Mariota's decision making, not just on the final pick, but there were multiple times in the games where I was texting insiders. I'm like, man, like if he doesn't do this or if he doesn't correct that or whatever, it's going to come back and bite this team in the butt. And unfortunately, it did it at the worst possible time. But also, second quarter, the drive that ended in a missed 51-yard field goal. Marcus Mariota, 1st and 10 from the Miami 33, and he's scrambling around there, and he has just got real estate, man. And this is a scenario that I've seen Marcus Mariota take off time and time and time again, and I don't understand why he didn't take off. I don't understand what he thought he saw, whatever. He doesn't take the yards that the defense is giving him. He bypasses the very clear opportunity to scramble for easy yards. Would have set up at worst a 2nd and short, might have gotten him a whole new 1st down inside the Miami 30. Whatever it is, he ends up throwing the ball. It ends up really tight window type of deal. Defender ends up actually making a play on it. Could have been an interception if the defender plays it a little bit easier. All that kind of stuff. Just a low percentage throw overall. Then they end up losing yards on 2nd down, I believe, and nothing on 3rd down, and they end up trying to kick a 51-yard field goal that is missed. So if you take those yards, I mean, you just look at what Matt Gay did on Sunday, like he's making the closer kicks, right? So if you get 10 yards on that Marcus Mariota run, turn into a 41-yard field goal, and just the performance on the night says that it's much more likely that Matt Gay actually makes that kick at all. So that's our bad take. Our ugly take, Mike Sainristil's muffed punt. 4 minutes, 11 seconds left in the game, a 13-13 tie in regulation, I should say. Immediately after the defense's second heroic goal line stand, right? So the defense, Mike Sainristil included, come out there, they stop it, they do all these things, they're getting the ball back, 4 minutes left, and you're like, oh man, like maybe this is going to be one of those moments that's like reminiscent of last year, drive it down, kill the clock, get the last second score, and everybody gets to go home happy. Instead, he muffs the punt. Basically, it just looked to me like he didn't understand. He didn't know if he wanted to catch it, didn't know if he wanted to let it go, and then kind of decided at the last minute, no, I'm going to run, I'm going to sprint, I'm going to try to catch this thing. It's kind of like that driver. It's like the light turns yellow, and they like hit the brake, get the gas, hit the brake, hit the gas, and they're like, oh, gas, and then they end up running the red light anyway because of the hesitation. Look, hesitation will get you killed, and in this business, hesitation got Mikey Sainristil as a punt returner absolutely killed. Gives the Miami Dolphins the ball at the Washington 42-yard line. Now, the Dolphins end up not making good on this situation. So, kind of it could be a no harm, no foul, but to me, there's still a foul there. And you couple that up with Mikey Sainristil's dropped interception earlier in the game. That drive ended up as a field goal for the Miami Dolphins. So again, you don't want to do those kinds of things. So Mikey Sainristil after the game kind of took a little bit of responsibility for it. Said he's got to be more decisive on whether or not he's going to let a ball fall or if he's going to go out there and catch it. And then once he decides he's going to go catch it, he's got to actually make the catch. It's the first step of fielding punts. That's why I wasn't on board as much as everybody else was with Dax Milne being a terrible punt returner, just because he never ran back for a touchdown, because he also never muffed punts, and that's worth something. So anyway, Mike Sainristil, part of the ugly takeaway from this Week 11 loss for the Washington Commanders, again, 6th straight, 8th on the season. Coming up next are 2 burning questions, one from the offense, one from the defensive side of the ball, on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you in part by FanDuel. The NFL schedule is rolling forward. The NBA is back, and there's no better place for you to get in on all the action than on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Even if you miss tip-off, even if you miss the start of the game, whether it's your favorite team or it's your rival team or it's neither, or you want to ride the hot hand in the game as you're watching it, you're like, man, this Anthony Edwards guy is pretty good at basketball. He's already got 20 points in 2.5 quarters. I think he's going to score 10 more. So I'm going to go ahead and put down money on a prop bet that says he's going to do that. Or whether you want to look at a fourth quarter comeback and try to put some money on that. You can even combine live bets into a same game parlay. Same game parlays, easily my most favorite part of FanDuel. It keeps the game exciting, especially when your team is making a late push or you just think you know more, know better than the average bear. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Wrapping up today's post-game episode, Washington Commanders fall in Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid, Spain. Fall to 3-8 on the season, 6 straight loss. It's been a whole lot of losing that we've seen here from this Washington Commanders team. Burning questions, one from the offense, one from the defense. On the offense, the question is this a season of myths or of flashes in the pans? And it's interesting because a lot of people are like, well, last year just was entirely a flash in the pan, right? Like the biggest flash in the pan yet was 2024. Now, I will still tell you that that wasn't a flash in the pan per se, because I don't care who you are. I don't care what your schedule is. It's hard to win 12 games in the National Football League. It's also hard to beat division champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. It's also hard to beat division champion number 1 seed Detroit Lions, who, again, I'll remind you, were healthy on offense, and that was the big thing, is 5 offensive turnovers in that game on the road. And it's it's hard to get your butt kicked in Philly, but we've seen that happen, unfortunately, more than times than we would like. But I would say it wasn't a flash in the pan, but obviously that's been a big conversation. But this season, these statistics have kind of been flashes in the pan, right? Like Washington Commanders run offense was like number 1 for a little while, number 2 for a good while, and then like steadily just kind of declining. Now it's number 7, at least coming into this weekend. I don't know what it'll be coming out of the weekend. We'll see. But that kind of seems like, okay, like the ranking looks good, but the run game is not really all that effective, whether it be from a game-to-game position or usage position. Looking at Cliff Kingsbury, it's not like you watch this Washington Commanders team and you're not like, man, what an imposing physical running game, running type of team. It's just not. It's kind of been a myth, right? Then you look at the sack rate, and again, now the sack rate's like 27th in the NFL anyway, so it definitely much more matches it. But at one point, this team was like top 5 in sack rate, like how many sacks they had per pass. But every week we're coming out of games and fans are asking me, where's the pass rush? And we're asking the coaches, where's the pass rush? We're doing all this kind of stuff. So it just kind of like begs the question, like, has this season, even the good parts, I mean, the red zone percentage, right? Team was number 2 in the NFL in red zone percentage. Come in here to week 11, 1 for 4. So it's like every good statistic, the good that you think you have, like the silver lining you think you see, it's actually just aluminum foil. It's not even silver. So I wonder if that's a question. It's a burning question we'll try to answer. Defensive side of the ball, how much better was the Commanders' defense with Dan Quinn at the controls? So again, during the week, they said Joe Witt Jr., basically the same role, Dan Quinn calling it. The defense was put in horrible positions all game long. The muffed punt, the overtime turnover. So yeah, they gave up points, all that kind of stuff. Again, it wasn't a lot of points, but I don't really put this on the defense. They responded to those situations. They gave 1 touchdown, 2 separate game-winning caliber goal line stands. And yes, again, you have to let the opposing offense to the goal line to have a goal line stance in the first place, so you don't want to get too praising about it, right? But it still deserves a little bit of praising. So the unit, showed some grit. They showed some stuff. So the question is, how much better were they really, and how much of it was actually on the Miami Dolphins offense not doing things? Jalen Waddle had a pretty comical drop at one point in time. So those are the burning questions we're leaving week 11 with. We will be back for our next episode trying to answer those burning questions. We'll also look at some of the top performers and least good, the worst performers of the game, and go over any further news that we need to go over for this Washington Commanders latest game, week 11, Washington Commanders at Miami, at Madrid, or in Madrid, Spain. That's going to do it for today's episode. Until our next episode, make sure you're checking out the Locked On NFL podcast. You can find Locked On NFL twice per day, Monday through Friday, on the Locked On NFL YouTube channel or on your podcast platform of choice, which is probably the one you're listening to this episode on right now. Again, this Locked On NFL, everybody, or out to the everydayers. I see you. I appreciate you every single day. And of course, I thank you again for coming through today. For everybody, until next time, please stay safe. Be kind to one another. We'll talk again real soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Oh, yeah, met a whole lot of Commanders fans this week here in Madrid. Many of you from other countries. Super appreciative of every single one of you that came out and said hi, whether it was on the street, whether it was in a bar at a fan rally, whether it was at the game. Greatly appreciate meeting all of you, every single one of you. So again, thanks for joining me here, and we'll talk to you again real soon.